Hello, everyone. Welcome to the new episode of Keats Pod. This will be the second episode, or could be the third episode ever made. I've got a few arrangements and other interviews I'm doing. But anyway, this special guest we have, his name is Paddy Dwyer. How you going, Paddy?
Good, thanks, Ryan. How are you, mate?
I'm very, very well, thanks. So, yeah, thanks a lot for joining this pod episode. Yeah, it's not easy getting someone to help me be a part of a pod episode. I've had a few people bail on me. I've got one episode, my first episode out last week, which was fantastic. Anyway, mate, it's about you now. So, just a few questions in store for you. Feel free to shoot some my way as well. But just a bit about where you grew up, because from memory, I don't think you grew up in Geelong.
Yeah, correct. So I've been in Geelong for little bit over 10 years now, but I grew up in a town called Daylesford. Well, it's probably an hour and 15 hour away from Melbourne, and the same sort of from Geelong where I'm at now. But I was lived there until I was 18, and then a little bit of time in Ballarat, first year of uni, and then went across to Perth, so WA, where I studied and did my commerce degree, and then made my way back down to Geelong. And it's probably shortly after that we first met back playing footy.
Yeah. So just why did you choose to go to Perth to do your degree?
Yeah, it's I want to say a funny one, but I grew up in Dale, sort of went to school in Ballarat, so I went to St Pat's, that old boys' school there.
Yeah, yeah.
And my first year of uni was in Ballarat as well at UB. And I remember thinking it was middle of winter, and I was like, why am I here? Like, it's freezing. I could go anywhere now. I'm not, bound by where my parents live. And so I just sort of Googled a couple of universities, and I was tossing up between Brisbane, a little bit warmer, and then Perth, a little bit warmer. And my brothers and sisters had previously lived in Perth, so and I'd been over there a little bit to visit. So I thought, well, it's a little bit of familiarity. And then I just for year two, three, 2 and 3, and then a little bit of four, because it took 4 years instead of 3, because I missed a subject for one of the years, so I had to come back for an extra little bit of period of time. But yeah, I just picked Perth for the weather and the lifestyle, and it's a beautiful place. Have you been there to visit?
I haven't been to Perth. In terms of interstate, I've been to South Australia once, and I've been to Queensland 3 times. But I
Yeah,
do hope to go to Western Australia one day.
yeah.
The West Coast Eagles, they're very popular up there.
Yeah, West Coast and Freo. It's funny, but
Yeah.
like being over there and reading the newspapers, you wouldn't think that there's any other teams that play in the AFL. And they have two. They might be not performing very well in a particular year, but they have 2 wins in a row, and they're the front and the back of the newspaper. It is like living in a different country. I think like it's the East Coast versus West Coast, and they
Mm.
speak differently. Have a different twang. They always say after each a statement, they'll say "Hey." I think
Oh,
Queenslanders do it as
okay.
well. So they'll make a statement. You might say, "Oh, yeah, how was your day today?" Or like, "How was work?" And he's like, "Yeah, it was pretty good, hey." And I remember thinking, is that a question? Like, I don't know. Like, you tell me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a bit like the New Zealanders. They finish the sentence, they go, "Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Let's do this, bro."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But
It's
there's
funny how different areas they have their own slang and speak differently. No, that's interesting, mate.
yeah, but I'd definitely recommend driving across, because you get across the Nullarbor. Like, it is a pretty boring drive, but it's definitely something to do. Maybe not with the family, but by yourself, it's not too bad.
Yeah. No, that's nice, mate. Now, have you got any brothers or sisters?
Yeah, I'm one of five. So
Oh, wow.
I'm the baby. So I'm the
Okay.
youngest. I've got 2 older brothers, 2 older sisters, and they're all in the space of 7 years. So mum and dad were pretty busy back in the 80s and the 90s.
Sounds that way, mate. Your older sisters, what do they do for a living?
So my older sister, Katie, she works at a university in Ballarat, the Catholic University.
Yeah.
What's the name of it? I can't remember what the name of it is, but I think she helps with like so graduates that are needing to get placements. She sort of helps to facilitate, I think, like in the nursing and things. They sort of
Okay.
and teaching, like, connects those students with particular schools so they can get their
Yeah.
work experience. Um, and my older sister's a bit of a funny one. She went into the mines after uni, went back, studied arts, then went from arts to accounting, and then went from accounting to law.
Wow.
But she worked,
HCBI.
she worked at Ernst and Young, so one of the major accounting firms,
Yeah.
and she's working for. She was doing work with the local government, like the war, like in terms of advising on, and this is in accounting, advising on like the water requirements and accounting for that. And then I don't know, she'd been there for a couple of years, asked for a pay rise. They said no, you haven't done your time. So then she started a company, tendered for the business with the local government, and won it over Ernst and Young, I'm pretty sure. So then she started a company there, and just done a bunch of different companies and things. So yeah, pretty successful.
Nice. What about your brothers, mate? What are they doing for a living?
Yeah, so my older brother Johnny, he's in Lara, so he's only 2 years older than me, but he
Mhm.
is a truck driver for PFD. So he does
Yeah.
deliveries, around the coast, and I think down to Ballarat and Dalesford. Actually, funnily enough, he's delivers
Cross
to there.
far. Yeah.
Yeah, my oldest brother, actually, we haven't spoken to in probably about 10 years, but he is a very certain. He's like a child entertainer, so he does like dresses up as Buzz Lightyear and does balloon tricks and magic tricks and things. So
Okay. So he's busy on the weekends doing a lot of parties and stuff.
yeah, I'd assume so. Yeah.
Okay, very, very interesting. Yeah, I was at a baby party a few months ago, and they had a baby entertainer. She's very talented with the balloons. So she had
Mm,
this balloon machine, and they were like those noodle balloons, and she could make anything. She was making dogs. She could combine a few others. She could make penguins. She was very talented,
mm.
and yeah, so yeah, it's a bit of a career in that. And okay, mate. So what we'll do is we'll go a bit further. So you individually, you have a family?
Yep, yeah, I've got a little boy. So I've got he's 15 months old now, almost 16 months, but his name's Buddy. Buddy Dwyer, and we're just about to have another one. So our second one's due in about 4 weeks. So it's,
Oh, nice.
yeah,
Do you
and
know if you're having a son or a daughter?
little boy. So two
Oh,
little,
nice.
yeah, so two little
That's
boys.
really nice. Congratulations, man. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
thank you very
So,
much.
sorry, did you say your oldest was 16 months old?
16. Yeah, he'll be just 16 months on the 13th.
Yeah, so he's in childcare.
Funnily enough, we're sort of lucky enough to have. So my partner Talisa, she has a sister who's come down from Townsville because she's originally from Townsville,
Yeah.
and she kind of is a bit of an au pair for us. So on a Monday through Wednesday, I do sort of the wake up in the morning, and then rather than put Buddy into daycare, we've got Peyton looking after him.
Oh, yeah.
And just while Till was kind of back at work, she's now almost finished to go back onto maternity leave. But
Yeah.
we're about to put him in, so we've done a little intro into a daycare, and then he'll go in for 1 day a week just to give us a bit of a chop out on Fridays.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So get ready for your kid to start bringing in the sicknesses, mate,
Y-
because
yeah,
yeah, my son the first month he wasn't at childcare as much as we thought because he just kept getting sick.
yeah,
But he's got a lot more durable and he hasn't taken as many days off. So yeah, the first month it was quite tough. You know, Marie would have to work from home and look after the kid. I'd have to stay from home certain times of the week and look after him while I try to work. So that was
yeah,
happening a fair bit the first month. But yeah, anyway, childcare is brilliant. The childcare that my son goes to, there's an app, and what they do is they'll
yeah,
have like how many hours your kids slept throughout the day, how many times they had a meal. They'll have highlights of what they did, take photos. So a lot of these childcare centres they do that. So yeah, they are really good. I believe there's more positives than negatives. And they
yeah,
learn to interact with other babies. So yeah, so with Lorenzo, he was at the start 3 days a week, and he did that for like all of last year. And this year he's going to be 4 days a week, so he gets the Friday off. So Maria's working 4 days a week. So yeah, that's the way we are at the moment. And
yeah. Have
we've
you got
got
just got the one boy, Lorenzo?
yeah, we've just got
Yep.
the one boy, mate. Yeah. So um, which hospital was he born at, buddy?
Just the public one in Geelong, which will do the same. What's the name of it? It's not St. John's, is it? I don't know. This is the stuff probably the mail doesn't really take too much notice of. I sort of just turn up and try to look pretty and just
Yeah.
get out of the way. But yeah, what about yours? What was yours? Your little man?
Yeah, Royal Women's Hospital. So this is the North Melbourne area up in Melbourne.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were pretty good. Just how long was the baby and your partner in hospital for after birth?
Yeah, it was pretty quick. So we was just
Mm,
day two or Yeah, two nights. So born on
Yeah,
at like 1 o'clock, and then spent the first night, then the second night we were out the next morning.
yeah, yeah. So it sounds like it was a natural birth.
No, so we had a cesarean. We had
Oh
some
yeah, cesarean. Yeah.
yeah, not some issue. It was like what's it called, vasa previa. So they got the got a couple of bits, little bit extra bits that grew with extra like veins that were his blood, not Talisa's, and that was over
Okay.
the cervix. So we couldn't go to a natural birth, so it had to be cesarean. And then this time we'll do again because it's just too quick succession.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah. So my partner Maria, it was a natural birth.
Mm,
So when Maria did need help with an item called a vacuum, so it's not really a vacuum, it's just a plug that goes on the baby's head, and they just lift it up a bit, and then they help to pull the baby out. So yeah, we were pretty lucky. It was a natural birth with us, and I think Maria was in the hospital for 3 nights. So yeah, so that's pretty good that both
mm.
your partner and my partner had short stints. You just hear of, it was a real harrowing time for some people. Some women that go birth and they're in the hospital for like weeks, multiple weeks. So yeah,
Mm.
we were pretty lucky there, Paddy. Um, so we'll just talk a bit about the visual snips. So I do see on my news feed you like to get creative with social media.
Yeah.
So these visual snips, just elaborate, mate. Have you got your own podcast?
Yeah, so so on Instagram use a little bit of the social media presence just to try to get a little bit of exposure for my business. So I'm a mortgage broker. Went out on my own a couple of years ago and sort of realised that it's hard to get in contact with people that are outside your circle of influence. So it's how do you talk to someone that you don't know or
Yeah.
friends of friends. I really approached a marketing agency who are close friends of mine now, and that was through a networking group that we sort of caught up. But basically, a part of this package and trying to get out there and create these reels on Instagram is that we have a podcast style where it's not like a continuous hour. We do talk like it would be a podcast, so it's similar to sort of what you're doing and
Mm.
asking questions. We'd ask questions and kind of try to create a little bit of a hook. And if it doesn't work, we don't necessarily post it. And then they chop up these individual bits that might be beneficial for my line of work. So I've done things on a personal note. Talking about family life, being a dad, being a business owner, networking. Then I've done pretty specific to the content of mortgage broking, how, what banks look at when they assess borrowing capacity or what the impact of credit score has on, getting a loan and all these different things. But I wouldn't mind getting into a bit of a podcast. You can't really hide behind a podcast, can you? It's a
Oh,
continuous thing.
yeah, it's very easy to do. I actually have ambitions to do what you're doing, small 1 minute videos.
Mm.
I will be using TikTok. I've looked into TikTok during the week, and what you can do is you can do like a 1 minute snip, and then you can upload it to your TikTok, and you pay $5, and it shoots to 1,000 different users.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, and there's the organic growth. Like you might just get lucky and something gets picked up, or you say something or speak to someone, and for whatever
Mm.
reason, the algorithm likes it. But I think the best way to get out there is to put a little bit of money behind it. Like I've had one ad where it was real simple. It was just, hey, do you live in Armstrong Creek, Mount Dunedin, and have you, bought a house a few years ago and haven't reviewed your loan, and if there's a six, if your rate's 6.5 or above, then there's room to be able to reduce that rate. And it was real simple, but I spoke to people like, are you living in this area? Like very specific to where I am. And I think I put $200 behind it. I got 36,000 views.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think like 250 followers. But with my line of work, I'm trying to get them from just a passive viewer to somebody that I can at least get a phone call with and try and get some sort of lending discussion out of it. So it takes a bit of work. So from my thing where I'm trying to get a sale or a new client out of it, I purposely will reach out to every single person that follows me and I'll say, hey, thanks so much for reaching out. It really means a lot. So I write, it takes a lot of work, write it individually. And, I might try and bring something up about their Instagram. Like if I can see that they've got a public profile and I can see they've done a bit of traveling, I'll be like, oh, it's awesome that you travel, what places you've been to. So trying to engage them so they get comfortable with me.
Yeah.
And that's the point of the Instagram as well. It's trying to make the potential client feel like they know me before they've even picked up the phone call, because there's so many mortgage brokers out there, there's so many different, professions, and we're all sort of competing for the same people. So if someone can connect me on one of these little reels or videos, just like someone can connect to you on this podcast, then you'll get some viewers in your case, or for me, hopefully
Yeah.
some potential clients.
So did you pay the $200 through your Facebook company profile?
Yeah, so I think we worked out. So because I work through a marketing agency, we who film, edit, and post on my behalf, so I don't have to do any of it. They originally did it through the Facebook group. What is it? The business Facebook profile, Meta, but it didn't work as well. Like, I put some money behind it and it got basically no reach or no interactions. It still was being shown to people, but people weren't, not necessarily clicking, but weren't like doing extra to it, like a full interaction. But then when we went to the individual Instagram reel and then said, hey, let's put money behind this specific one, it, for whatever reason, the algorithm liked it more.
Cool,
And
mate.
yeah, and I think it prefers if you do it on your phone. So if you pay the money on your computer, it's trying to force people to pay things and use your phone more. So it rewards you if you use your phone to be able to do it.
Okay. Very interesting, mate. Just a quick one. With your videos, I like how you got the caption subtitles. That's something I want to do with my snippet videos. Just which program did you use for that, the caption subtitles?
Yeah, so with that one, because it is off, like the marketing team does it, they use the different programs. I don't think they necessarily do it themselves. Like, they're not sitting there doing it. They've got a program, but I think there's quite a few where you can, it might be $30 a month, and they can edit the photos, take out any of the ums and the ahs and the silences, and the different things where it like zooms in, zooms out, might put a special little caption or whatever, and captions it, or obviously the whole thing. There's quite a few. I remember researching it before I engaged with these marketing guys, but I just didn't find one that I necessarily liked, and I still had to do the work. So I was like, I want to get someone else who's a professional to do it.
Yeah. All right. Cool, mate. Yeah, I've been doing my research as well. I came across one. I can't remember the name of it, but I'm going to look into it during the week.
Yeah.
So what we'll do now, mate, we'll talk about Geelong West Footy Club, because this is where we met. And who recruited you to Blue West Footy Club?
So I wasn't intending to play footy. I'd just moved to Geelong. I know I'd been here for half a year, but I was still playing randomly for Daylesford. So I was traveling from Geelong to Daylesford, and Daylesford footy is so much different to Geelong footy. It's a lot wetter, a lot muddier, a lot colder. And I was like, this is not much fun. And it was in the off season. I was just getting a coffee at a drive-through coffee joint in Geelong somewhere, and a fella that I previously played juniors with, we played in under 19s in the Ballarat League, and we won a premiership. Luke Farquhar. He just said, "Oh, you're playing footy?" And I go, "Oh, look, I'm sort of over it. I don't really want to." He's like, "Oh, we'll just come along to Geelong West. We're just, a bunch of guys just enjoying ourselves. We're not necessarily very good, but in the off season, everyone's got high hopes to recruit people." And then I had a chat to the I think the president at the time, and then also the coach, who convinced me to sort of come along and join. And then I stayed there ever since.
So what year did you join Blue West Footy Club?
I reckon it was either 2014 or 2015 year. Because I was there a few years before it changed from Geelong West Cheetahs to Geelong West Giants. Because what year did you start?
Well, I just came 2016.
Yeah, I think I was 2015 then. I reckon I was a year before you.
Is that when Washo was coach?
No, I was the year after Washo. So so he was 2014, I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
So Andrew was coach?
Andrew was coach. No, it was Mark Hounslow. Mark Hounslow, and Andrew was the assistant.
Okay, yeah, cool. Because 2016 was actually quite a historic year. The club didn't do. I think the ones probably didn't win a game.
Yeah.
And the twos won one, or the reserves. Sorry, they won only one or two.
Yeah.
But that was the last year ever of Blue West Footy Club, and then the following year they were the Geelong West Giants.
Yeah.
So it's actually an incredible story for the pod listeners. I don't think it's happened anywhere else in local footy, but there's two different leagues in Geelong. You've got the GFL and GDFL, and what they've done is they became one club, one committee, and so quite unusual. They've actually upgraded the Geelong West Footy Club, well, formerly Red West, the GFL team. They've upgraded a lot. I drove past it sometimes,
Mm.
and they've actually got a brand new club room, and it looks amazing. Just driving past it, never been in it. But Paddy, I imagine you've been in it.
Yeah, yeah. So I was there while it was getting built, and then when it got built, it's a great facility. Like it's big, you can see it from the main road, and it lights up at night, and obviously a good function area and things. I think they got a lot of funding from the government because it was sort of seen as a central point for one, a giant club, but then also you got Gaelic footy there, you got the crit track, so the bike riders. You've got all the women's teams and all the juniors teams. So they kind of put it as, hey, look, we're going to try and promote this like sort of central big sporting facility. And I think they were able to get about $7 million from the government, local government.
Yeah. So they
Yeah,
still got that old stadium there.
they do. Yeah, they do still have that. Last time I was there, it was. I think they're still. I reckon I'd find it hard for them to remove that. It'd be some heritage listing. I'd suggest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they originally were going to try and get rid of the bike track. You know how it's got kind of like a slope on the outside.
Yes.
But I don't think they're ever going to get rid of that. To be honest, there's too many bike riders that still use it.
Okay. No, very interesting, mate. Yeah. So just back to 2016, I had all the Facebook profile, and you uploaded the cover photo. It was a photo of all the reserves and the senior players. And I look back and I found myself. It was kind of like Where's Wally for a bit. But
Yeah,
I saw myself. I was standing next to Paul Robertson and Aaron O'Callaghan, and
yeah,
bring back memories. So
yeah.
just
Would
knowing
you?
2016, you had a good year. The seniors didn't. But just speaking of the seniors that year, you guys were pretty competitive with the bottom 4 or 5 teams in the GDFL. You were competitive for 3 quarters. It got to the last quarter and a blowout. You guys look, the teams like the Bell Post Hills and East Geelong was strong back then. It
Mm.
was tough against those teams. It was like 100-point blowout when you played them. But yeah, mate, 2016, you had a good year from memory. I think you were runner up in the best and fairest.
Yeah, I might have got runner up. That year and maybe third one of the other years.
Yeah,
But it's funny because I always played. I never really have a tank to be able to run out games, and that people would always put me in the midfield, and I just never felt very comfortable with it. And I think we weren't we weren't a great team. I think we were probably full of players that just kind of were happy drinking and having a
yeah,
good time. We didn't necessarily. We might have had 10 real footballers.
yeah,
I don't include me in one of those, but it was a good fun year. And then once we started to get a bit better, I got anywhere near the top sort of 10 in terms of
yeah,
the best players. But out of those first 2 years, I think we won maybe 2 games or something that I was a part of it, and I wasn't a part of any of those. I was injured for both of them, so I went for 2 years without getting a win. Did you manage to play the game when the
the
Reggies won?
one. Well, look, in 2016, I joined it like round 7 or something and played the
Okay.
rest of the year. So the 1 or 2 wins the reserves had was like in the first 3 rounds. So yeah, we weren't part of a win, mate. But anyway, mate, just talking about the merge, because technically after that year, the point system came in, and Blue
Mm,
West had no juniors. So look, potentially if the merge didn't happen, look, there were all these rumors of all these players unhappy, thinking about leaving and stuff. And, um, you know, the fact that Blue West had no juniors, no 1 point players,
mm.
there was a high chance the club could have folded. Like, have you had a Forest Football Club in the Colac League?
I have,
They
yeah.
had no juniors. They were successful for many years. They had money, and they were successful because they had no juniors, and they actually folded.
Mm,
Forest. So yeah, there were teams known to fold if they had no juniors. So look, the merge did save Blue West. If you were when Geelong West Giants combined with Red West and Blue West, if you played your juniors at Red West, you were a 1 point player when you came to the
mm,
Geelong West Giants in the GDFL team, which was really handy because I remember, look, I did a pre-season in 2017, but then I moved up to Melbourne with my brother. I was at uni and I had evening classes. It just wasn't going to work out. There were so many players, and um, so I did a preseason but didn't play. But I was coming down on weekends and having a look in 2017. And so the evening classes on the Tuesdays and Thursdays when you guys were training, I wouldn't have been able to train. It just wasn't going to work
mm,
out. But anyway, I was happy to come down on Saturday, and I was mates with all you guys. So, and just another thing, guys like from memory, Tyson Stock, Brenton Ritchie, Ben Toner, for example, these guys played at Red West and they came over as 1 point players.
Yeah.
And there was a few other guys as well. I just can't remember their names, but more than handy players in that team.
Yeah.
And the GDFL, Geelong West Giants in the first year, I think the seniors played finals and they won a game. They did.
Yeah, we did. We beat Bannockburn in the first round of the finals, I think it was. And then I feel like we got robbed by the umpires against Thompson, who ended up winning the whole thing. But yeah, it was a great year. Like, we obviously got an influx of a few of those 1-pointers from Red West who had sort of decided they didn't want to play in the GFL and all the extra commitments that are involved. And I think they had a few mates that had come across, and then we luckily enough, had a couple of uni students that had come on board as well. And I don't know, we just sort of played probably outside of our skin a little bit, or out of our abilities. But it was a really, really good year, and especially such a turnaround from, basically not winning any games and getting beaten by 200 points. Like, I remember in Blue West getting beaten by 200 points to Bannockburn. And then after the game, this is in the first year, so before you turned up, after the game, the coach, and it wasn't Andrew, picked 5 players out to sit out who he thought gave a crack, and then everyone else had to do sprints in the middle of the ground after a 200-point loss. So we were doing sprints from end to end because he thought that we weren't trying hard enough. And like, Banner at the time, I think, were like 1 and 2, you know, and we were bottom by a long way. It's not that we weren't trying, we're just not very good at footy.
Yeah.
And then we go in and get through to the first round of the final. We'll get past the first round of the finals and, get real close to almost, beating the eventual winners. So yeah, it was a good sort of turnaround.
Yeah. When did you retire from? You have retired from playing footy?
Yeah, I think so. I was thinking about playing, filling in next year, but it was probably 2 years ago. So during COVID, I kind of held on, and it was a real weird seasons. And then I played one more after that. Once we it was still during COVID, I suppose, but we were still allowed to play footy. And then I just sort of gave it up. I'd had enough. And I'm just not, weren't as fast as good. And I don't know.
Yeah, you got a young family, mate, as well.
Yeah. Did you play footy afterwards?
Nah, mate, nah. So I pretty much, when I moved up to Melbourne, I didn't play again. Just I did play some cricket though. Played at a club called Flemington Colts.
Yep.
I retired about 5 years ago, mate. So yeah, in terms of fitness, I just go for the odd jog around the block. But so I need to be around to help my partner with my son, and that's what I choose to be on my weekends. Keep it free to try and be the best father as possible. So
it's good.
What we'll do, mate, we'll move on now to your Ironman tournament that you did. So you've only ever done one Ironman competition?
Yeah, so it's not an Ironman. So it's people who do Ironmans will get into me if I say I'm an Ironman, but I've done 2 half Ironmans. So they're called 70.3s. So it's just half the distance of the Ironman.
Yeah.
So the swim in the ocean's 1.9 kilometres, and then it's a 90-kilometre bike ride, and then a half marathon run afterwards.
How long was the running kilometres?
It's like 21.1, I think. Yeah, because what's that? 42.2, I think, is the full. Yeah, so it's still a long way. Like, it's still hard. Like, I think you need to do an unbelievable amount of training for the full, and it's probably, it's something I definitely would like to do, but I think I'd like to do it well. So I'd probably want to put a bit more time and energy into it. But before I did the half, so the 70.3, and it was just after footy, I was like, I want to do something where need routine and to work hard for. So I did a couple of what's called sprint triathlons. There's a series in Melbourne that goes around from probably the start of or end of November through to March, and it's called the 2XU or 2 times U. Have you heard of that triathlon events?
I've heard it. I think I've heard of TXU.
Yeah. So they sponsor the event, I suppose, and it's been going for quite a few years now. But they have, I think, 6 different 2XUs almost every 2 weeks over the summer period. But they're sprint ones, so they're shorter distances. So the swim might only be 500 meters. The bike ride's 20 to 26 kilometers, and then the runs, 5 kilometers. And then there's some Olympic distance ones in there that you might be able to do. So I did a couple of those, and then 2 of those, and then I was like, I wouldn't mind doing a full one, a full half anyway. Yeah, which is pretty good. So it keeps you honest, that's for sure.
Yep. So just with your half marathon, mate, in terms of your training, so your training leading up to it, was it for about a 6 month duration when you were training like 4 times a week, or how was it?
Yeah. So with the so before my first half, which I didn't have a coach or anything, because you can get coaches that can kind of plan your weeks and make sure you're doing the right stuff. I sort of just downloaded the cookie cutter thing online, and I think I did 3 months of work on it. But like it's like I didn't stick to every sort of training regimen. And you might do anywhere from sort of 3 5 days a week. Once I sort of got into it after I'd done that and hired a coach, so they'd write my plan. I was doing sort of 6 to 7 days a week. Um, it sounds like a lot, but I'm not no good at it. Like I'm not exceptional or anything, but it was just something where you get some professional be able to tell you how much you can do. And I sort of hired someone after I did my first half, and then it was while Buddy was Tilly was pregnant with Buddy, so I had the time to be able to do it, and then kind of kept doing it a little bit longer once Buddy came along, and then I realised it was impacting my work and then family life as well. Sort of like what you said, your prioritize and the amount of training that you need to do for the half to do well. You've got to sacrifice a bit.
Mm. So just leading up to the half Ironman you did you change your diet at all to a vegan diet?
Nah, not
No.
at all. To be honest, that was probably one thing that I didn't change at all. I just ate when I was hungry. So I definitely lost a lot of weight. Like my body likes to be around, I don't know, 70, 73 kilos.
Yeah.
And I kind of got down to maybe like 69. So it's not a huge difference, but it was, I was eating as much as I could, training as much as I could, and that's sort of where my body landed. Yeah, my body weight. But I
Yeah.
didn't change. I didn't focus on
Okay.
the diets. Yeah.
Okay. Very interesting, Paddy. Have you got a Netflix account?
I do. I think we've got Netflix. I think we've got Amazon. So Amazon
Yeah.
Prime. I think I've got
Yeah.
KO and Binge.
Yeah.
Uh,
So you've
yeah.
got a few, mate. No, that's good. But anyway, on Netflix, there's a documentary movie. It's called Game Changers. Have you seen it?
Mm. Is who's that? What's that one about? Is this not the
Okay,
basketball one?
very briefly, it's about this guy, and he does UFC fighting. He's not someone that's in the UFC, but he does the mixed martial arts, and he's badly hurt his knee, and he wants to learn what he can potentially do to get himself back to 100% as quick as possible and train hard for his next fight. So what
Mm.
he does, he really looks into the vegan diet, and it's
Mm.
just a really good documentary of all these other athletes that are on vegan diets. It speaks about how you know, how it speeds up your recovery after a sporting event or training. And it provides you with high levels of energy throughout the day so you can train hard. So it's very interesting, the vegan diet, and it's comparing athletes who don't have vegan diets and do have vegan diets. Like, for example, Conor McGregor loves eating red meat. He was eating red meat flat out. And then Nate Diaz, had the vegan diet, and it just showed
Mm.
there was this scene where Conor McGregor had to fight someone, and this other person had to pull out, and they only pulled out like 2 weeks or 10 days before Conor was supposed to fight this person. So the UFC contacted Nate Diaz, and he said he'd do it. And this was one of the fights that Nate Diaz actually bet Conor McGregor, and he had short notice, and like he would have been still training Nate Diaz, but he only had like a 10-day duration for this fight, and he bet Conor McGregor, and he had more energy. Even after the fight, Conor McGregor was just saying that Nate Diaz, he just controlled and channeled his energy a lot more efficiently than he did.
Mm. Mm.
And Nate Diaz is proven to be someone that has a vegan diet, and it's a very interesting documentary. It's got this really old person that has a record for this massive hike they did, and they actually injured themselves halfway, and they just
Mm.
kept going and going. They had heaps of energy throughout the day, and there's a lot of it was because of their vegan diet, and it also has someone who won an Olympic gold in the winter, the ice skate racing,
Mm.
and this woman was Asian in her early 40s, and she's beaten these people in their 20s. She's won the gold, and she was someone that she was proven and was public about her vegan diet. So look, it wouldn't surprise me as well in the AFL. You've got guys like Scott Pendlebury and Still Bottom, who are Collingwood footballers. They're at the age mid-30s where a lot of guys are retiring. These guys are still playing at a high level. And look, I don't know this for a fact, but it wouldn't surprise me that they have vegan diets. And then there's this other scene where this guy, He has his own personal training. He's aged in his 50s. He's ripped, and he's got a vegan. He's been a vegan person for like 20 years, and he runs these intense 45 1 minute training intervals. And he's got these younger people, they can't keep up with him. He's like 50. There's people like aged in their 20s, they can't keep up. And lots because of the diet he has and how hard he trains. So it is very interesting. So yeah, Paddy, if you've got time, or the pod listeners out there, game changers. It's definitely an eye opener
Yeah,
about the benefits of having a vegan diet
I
if you're a
reckon
professional athlete.
I reckon I might have, because it's not relative, it's not new, is it? Because I think I have seen it, because they talk about it
Yeah.
with a gridiron team that implements it for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
been
that'd
around a
be,
few years.
yeah. It's interesting. You kind of got to find what works for you, and obviously there's probably some literature around the benefits of healing, recovery, and I think also what a lot of people don't quite get in terms of diets. It's a lot to do with calories in, calories out. So people with shitty diets, probably if they're just not eating too many calories, can lose weight. But it's whether or not they're getting the optimal version of that. Like, so if it's for recovery purposes and you're eating the right, clean vegetables and no meat, then maybe that's definitely beneficial. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good, Paddy. All right, mate. We'll just talk into a bit about your work history. So you did say that you're now a mortgage broker, but before that, you worked at a bank.
Yeah. So I'll start, I guess, from the beginning. So
Yeah.
with the university degree, so I did a commerce degree, sort of majored in corporate accounting and finance. Um, then I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and was sort of sitting on my thumbs a little bit over in Perth. So that's why I sort of decided to come back to Victoria and landed in Geelong. But I went for a financial planning job. So what was my first job I tried to go for down here and got it. So I became an associate financial advisor. So you're not qualified to be giving advice, but I'm doing everything in the background, creating statements of advice, sitting on our meetings and doing all the sort of follow-up work. But it just wasn't really for me. I didn't really enjoy it that much, and didn't feel like it was my calling. So then I just had someone that I knew who worked in a bank, which was a Commonwealth Bank, said, look, we're looking for what was called an analyst, which is basically an assistant relationship manager. So in lending space, so commercial loans and lending. So I went from associate financial advisor across to an analyst, where I was working for 3 years with Commonwealth Bank. And my role there was working with sort of farmers. I was in the agribusiness space. So if you were a farm and you needed, anywhere between $1 million and $10 million worth of debt, I would help, work through providing those funds to them, and then be their sort of designated banker, or the assistant to the designated bankers who had a portfolio. So that was the first stint in the banking. Was there for 3 years, and you sort of quickly work out that when you're dealing with farmers, they know you're not a farmer. So you can only wear R.M. Williams boots and belts and clothing to try to look the part. But, unless you've grown up on a farm, have a hobby farm, they can kind of see straight through you. So I sort of felt like it, I didn't really want to be there forever. So moved across to the Blue Bank. So at ANZ, still in commercial lending, so a bit more just standard commercial businesses. So no farms, just your standard businesses that needed finance, and the same sort of role. So helping them obtain loans and then being their designated banker. So that was the stint in the banks. So did that for 2 years. Then I went out to mortgage broking. So for anyone that doesn't know, mortgage brokers basically, rather than just selling one particular product, they're accredited or have the license to be able to submit applications to multiple lenders. So, for example, I've got access to over 60 different lenders. So if you came to me and said I wanted a home loan, I could potentially go to 60 different lenders to find the best option for you. So I was there for 18 months doing mortgage broking, do a bit of commercial lending, residential lending for home loans, investment loans. And then I thought I'd love to do this on my own. So then I started my own company.
Nice, mate. Just back to the farmers, the agricultural farmers you're involved with that were anywhere between $1 million to $10 million in debt. Did you, during your time at Commonwealth, did you actually help any of them get out of that debt?
It's funny. So banks obviously banks want to lend debt, and they want to be able to you've got to prove that you can pay it back. And the terms of the contracts are that they will be eventually paid back. So, for example, you might have a 20-year loan term or commercial loan term. It's be paid off over 20 years. We're not necessarily in the business to say, hey, look, let's try and get it paid off over 10 years. That's the, that's up to the customer and whether or not they want to do it or are able to do it. We always say, like in home lending is a little bit different. I always sort of give people the advice on, this is what the impact of putting in an extra $100 a week or a month has on the overall repayment term of your loan. So we might be able to, wipe off 10 years or, save $100,000 in interest costs. Whereas in the commercial space, there's not so much onus on trying to get it paid back sooner because they're doing it for a reason. It's leveraging. A lot of the time they're buying commercial properties or rural land, and generally that appreciates over time. So they're not that focused on paying it down. They'll eventually sell it or, when they finish up.
Yeah, nice, mate. So just a bit about mortgage brokers. So in terms of how mortgage brokers get their payment is like they've helped a client get a home loan with a particular bank, and then the bank pays the mortgage broker. That's how they get paid on a commission. So that's how mortgage brokers get paid.
Yeah. So it is commission based. So it's an easy sell to the customer because they're getting the expertise of a broker. They know they're getting looked after. They've got access to multiple lenders rather than having to go direct to a bank, and not know that they potentially could get a better offer elsewhere. Not only that is brokers, we're governed by best interest duty. So when we recommend a particular product or a bank, it's got to be in their best interest. So you come to me and say, I want X, Y, and Z. I can only recommend banks or lenders that are in those interests. So whereas if you go directly to a bank, they're just selling a product. But yeah, well, you're totally right. We get paid a commission. So it pays, we want to get the best outcome, obviously, just to help people buy homes. But we, depending on what the size of the loan is, say, for example, it's $1 million home loan. Generally, every bank pays very similar. So there's no, we're not allowed to pick a particular bank because we get paid more because that's against our best interest duty, compliance requirements. But we get paid a percentage of the loan balance, and then we kind of get paid ongoing trail commission as well. So as long as you're still at that bank and I was the broker that sent you there, I get a smaller portion of that of income for the life of that loan.
Nice. So how many clients have you had at any one time at the maximum with your company?
Yeah, so I consider them, they're still clients. So as long as say I've been running for 10 years and I've dealt with, 300 clients, they're still my clients. So I still do annual reviews for them and have them on record and touch base with them and make sure they're still in the best rates. But at any one time, like I've got my board up here, I probably have at the moment 25 active clients that I'm working on, whether that's at the start of the process, people have said, hey, look, what's my borrowing capacity, right through to, hey, we've got settlement next week. And then, I would say the 25 are the ones prior to even just submitting an application. So it's a lot of a juggling act, and it's a lot of, with mortgage broking, it's death by documents at the start. So we have to, when we're proving to the banks that you can borrow the money, we're making sure we've got the right pay slips, that we check that they're right, checking the accounts, bank accounts, your home loans, your credit cards, your transaction statements, making sure that we've got all the ID identification. So it's a lot of back and forth, and then obviously trying to work with clients to make sure that they're comfortable with what we're going for, and there's a lot of lead time. So have you bought a house before, Ronan?
Yeah, look, I've actually bought a house pretty recently in Altona Meadows. Paid $540K.
Yep.
And myself and my partner were doing a 20% deposit,
Mm.
and we actually didn't go through a mortgage broker. I'm with ING Bank, and I was just happy to go through them.
Yep.
I've spoken to people that variable rates, we're going to have an offset account, and the variable interest rates are lower than the usual bank. I've already got 2 bank accounts, so I get paid into the ING. I've got a NAB account. A lot of my direct debits are in it. That's the only reason. I just transfer money from ING. So yeah, I wasn't interested in opening up another account. So that's one reason why I didn't go through a mortgage broker.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people do go through mortgage brokers. My brother did to get a house. So
yeah,
it is popular.
It's definitely, and I think there's a few different aspects of it. Like you going to ING's not a bad thing at all, because at ING's, it does have very competitive rates. They're not the lowest, but that's fine. It's not the end of the world. And as long as you've got a good relationship with them, I think where the expertise of the broker come in is that forward planning. So say, for example, I don't know, for one starters, you get the ultimately best rate, but then also on the back end is every scenario is so different. So the way you get paid, what type of expenses that you have, and a few different aspects that go into it, whether it's your credit score. They play big major roles in terms of getting approval. If you're a real squeaky clean customer that's got really good income, really good deposit, like you did in 20%, you pretty much can just go anywhere, and you kind of know that. So then you'd still probably want to go to a broker to make sure you're on the best rate. But if you've got something strange about your income, whether it's self-employed, maybe on maternity leave, maybe your credit score is a little bit lower, that's the things that might push you out from being approved by that bank. So you went through the full process, got a decline, and then have to start again and have to provide all the information. Whereas a broker, we get all that up front, assess the whole side of all the different lenders, and then say, this is your best option. I've already assessed it based on my calculations. I'm only submitting it if I think it's going to get approved. But yes, there's nothing wrong with going direct. I just think, brokers give you that better level of expertise.
Yeah, I've been told that too. One reason why myself and my partner really wanted to pay the 20%, we didn't want to pay any lender's mortgage insurance. So for people out there, if you don't pay 20% of the deposit, you find yourself having to pay lender's mortgage insurance. And obviously, the higher the house, the further you are from that 20% deposit, the higher you got to pay in lender's mortgage insurance. So
and there's different things, like say that's awesome. Like if you say you have a 15% deposit, now going to a broker is a really good thing, because there's some lenders that will lend up to 85% without lender's mortgage insurance. And there's different ways in which you can try to avoid those and get better rates as well. So like if you're first home buyer, you might be able to get accepted into a thing called the government guarantee scheme, where the government guarantees your loan. If you don't have that 20%, you avoid lender's mortgage insurance, you get better rates. Other aspects, there's different professions. So say you're a physio or a doctor, particular banks, not all of them, only a very select few, will allow you to go up to 90% loan to value ratio without paying LMI. So there's heaps of little intricacies. So if you're sort of going back to, that lay down Misere perfect applicant, you go anywhere, you got 20% deposit, good income, low expenses, perfect, go anywhere. But if you're outside of that, or anything where it might be a policy thing or issue, or maybe some hurdles we need to overcome, you have to go to a mortgage broker, because there's ways to avoid that LMI. Like if you went to ING and if you don't have the 20% deposit, have LMI or lender's mortgage insurance costs on top, higher rates. But if you just went to a broker and went to a particular bank that has good policies for your profession, you could avoid spending, 20 grand in lender's mortgage insurance and wipe, 0.5% off your interest rate.
Just off the top of your head, could you express those banks, or you'd rather not, because it's a part of your job where you express that once they've engaged you?
Or as in like tell them, give them the answers to where to go to?
No, like which banks are offering those really good deals at the moment where, they won't charge you LMI if you do a 15% deposit?
Yeah. So like it really sort of depends. So let's just say, for example, if you're a teacher, so this is a really good one, and I'm not recommending the bank, but Bank First. So there's all the major banks that everyone hears about, and then there's the second tier lenders, which some people get a little bit funny about because it's not the majors, but it's pretty safe in Australia. The banking industry is very, very, very safe here. But so Bank First, they have a policy. If you're a teacher, you can borrow up to 90% the value of the property. So only provide a 10% deposit plus whatever the additional costs are, and you don't have to pay lender's mortgage insurance. Like that's huge, like especially if you're not a first home buyer.
Which bank offers that?
Bank First.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've never heard of it. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So teachers and nurses, they're really good with that. I think who else we got for medical policies, like your Bank of Melbourne, Westpac, Commonwealth Bank have ones for doctors, so going up to 90%. Or if you're a practicing lawyer, some doctors you can go up to 95% no LMI. So they're obviously trying to get the doctors as applicants. So there's quite a few different sort of professions that they kind of favour to be able to sort of help them.
Are there any banks out there that favour people in the building industry, like construction managers, architects, building surveyors, people like that, engineers?
There might be one with engineers is a tricky one. Architects potentially, but mostly it's the medical profession. So allied health, they're the ones that sort of people are getting onto. Then there's the bank First, which have the teachers and the nurses. But even in those policies, there's certain requirements. So like sometimes, say you're a nurse and you can qualify for this particular medico policy. some of them have requirements to earn. The person who's in the medical industry has to earn over $90,000 a year. So if you've got one applicant on 200 who's not a nurse, and then our nurse that's on 60 grand, then you potentially won't be able to be qualified for that special LMI waiver.
Yeah.
So it really really comes important to know which bank is going to give you the best option. So like with the broker, they analyze your financials, so your pay slips, what sort of profession you're in, and they say, you know what, we've only got a 15% deposit. These are the two lenders that have got real good policies on this.
That's good, Paddy. Thanks a lot, mate. Now, I'll pretty much run through everything I'd planned to question you on. I'm just wondering, mate, if you have any questions for me that you might want me to answer or something like that.
Yeah, I've got a question. So with the podcast,
Yes.
what's the end? What's your dream from it? Like, what's the end goal?
Look, it'll probably never happen, but if I could end up the Aussie Joe Rogan, that'd be fantastic. I know with my pod, I do have different plans with it. Like I want to interview people like yourself. I'm going to do movie and TV series reviews. I'm going to talk about, events, sporting events. I like music. So there will be quite a bit of variation on the pod. I would like to grow it. So just grow it as much as I can. If I don't grow it as much as I like, that's fine. I do, I enjoy just talking about whatever and hearing my own voice. And look, the goal is to really grow it as much as I can. I do know that I need like TikTok and things like that to help me out. So
Yeah,
I'll do it the best I can and I'll see how I go, mate.
yeah.
And if I ever get big enough to earn a bit of a side income doing this, that'd be fantastic. That'll probably never happen. But look, that is a nice dream I have, and if I can achieve that, is actually a goal of mine. It could be a bit of a side earning that I have. If I grow it enough that people want to advertise on my pod. You hear Joe Rogan, he will like speak at advertisement or something like that.
Yeah.
So just sorry, Paddy, this was a question I had, mate. Are you a podcast fan in general?
I don't mind it. So I don't have any that I'm like religious on. So
Mm-hmm.
I think with most people, like you look at your socials and there'll be clips from podcasts. So like, you see Joe Rogan's clips that, that might be 10 minutes long. So I might watch those, but I'm not necessarily watching the full podcast or listening to the full podcast.
Yeah, Joe Rogan's, mate. He's can go up to 3 hours, some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't mind like so I like a lot of like professional development. So probably similar to you, trying to venture out and improve and obviously do something out of your comfort zone, which would probably be this podcast. So Modern Wisdom is a good one that I like to listen to. What is it? Millionaire Mindset. That's not a bad one. I don't mind those sort of things. I think it's just trying to find the time, because between family, work, and I still do quite a lot of training. So I'm sort of doing between 5 and 6 hours on the bike and 2 hours running, and that's usually at 4:30, 5 a.m. in the morning and late at night. So then in between, I'm working or spending time with family. So
When you're jogging, that's a good time to listen to a podcast, though.
jogging, mate, I don't have anything. I don't, because
Do you listen to music? You listen
no,
really?
no,
You can get earbuds, mate. You can get these earbuds specifically for people that run, and you put them in cordless. They're fantastic for people that jog and things like that.
Yeah, I don't like it. Yeah, so
Okay.
I like being able to, because when I use running as not meditation, but it clears my mind. It lets me think. So I focus on breathing. I'll try and breathe through my nose as much as I can.
Yeah.
And I kind of get into a good zone. I can hear myself breathing, so I'm not running too hard. So it would be good to listen to things when I'm running. But yeah, are you going to do any video ones, like put it up on YouTube?
Yeah, I will, mate. I've actually got a YouTube channel. I was going to promote that. So the pod I did the other day, that's up there. I'll put this one up there. That's fine with you?
Yeah, mate, no worries at all.
Yeah, I'll put this. So yeah, this will go on like everywhere, like that you can listen to podcasts, like the Spotify's and the Apple Pods and things like that. I'll actually inbox you the link to once I've loaded this up, because there are a lot of people out there. I've had feedback. They like to actually watch people on the pods. They like to see facial expressions and things like that. So I was like, all right. So, and I also have future goals. I'm going to get a video editing program. So if I go to look, I'm going on a where I work. We've got a like a holiday arranged where all the staff. Now I work for a company that's got offices interstate as well. We're going to Noosa. So with my phone, I was going to do a lot of like video clips throughout the trip.
Mm.
And then I was going to compile it into like a 10-minute video. I was going to put it on YouTube, share it on my Facebook company
Yeah.
profile as well. I'm actually going to go see. I like music. I'm going to see it. She's an artist. Her name's Alison Wonderland. She makes really good electro music. She's performing live in North Melbourne, so I'm going to go down there. I'm going to record it, talk to people while I'm at the gig, and it's going to be fun. I'm going to make it fun, so I'm going to do a fair bit of that as well. So there's
Yeah.
different things I'll be doing.
And I think
Yeah.
I think with anything, and this sort of goes to business as well, you kind of just need to jump in. Like obviously you'd love to, make it successful and potentially earn some money on it. But if you sit around on your thumbs trying to find the best way to edit, best way to, podcast, you just got to do it and then learn and find out what works. You might find a particular subject that everyone wants to talk about. Say, for example, you get into sports, and that's the thing that sort of resonates with viewers, then you do more of that. And, at the start, it might be a bit of random rapid fire, whether it's personal development, mental health, whatever the thing is. But you've got to kind of got to do it. And similar to like what you're saying, if you go on a trip and start filming and doing, interviews and things, it might work, it might not work, but you just got to kind of got to try and learn how to edit, learn how to network, learn how to get new guests in. It's a lot of just jumping in and then just seeing if it works.
Yeah, I think Paddy, I think I'm a big thing on variation, doing different things on a pod. So I think a lot of people like different things. I didn't want to be just one pod that specific on sport. I didn't want to be one pod that was specific about talking about movies. I wanted, I have future ambitions with this pod to have variation, and episodes will be different. We talk about different stuff, and they will be relevant stuff. So, for example, like the AFL's coming up, so I do plan on having an episode someone where I'm back and forth about our predictions and who's going to win Brownlow and who's so like a half an hour pod on that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I do plan on having a fair bit of variation. Some episodes are going to do better than others. But I think variation is very important. Like you see Joe Rogan, he's got so much success. He interviews people from all walks of life. He's interviewed Donald Trump. He's interviewed people that were mayors of countries. He's interviewed people that have been in jail and done criminal life. So a lot of variation in his pod. He's had so much success because it's so interesting.
Yeah.
It's very interesting when you have variations on, if it's a podcast you're doing, you've got different people you're interviewing from all walks of life. So people like to learn different things and hear different experiences from people. So yeah, I've only just started it, mate. So
Yeah.
let's see where this tail. It's very easy to set up a pod. You really does when you have a pod. I suppose your artisticness and your ideas is really how you can progress and grow a pod. So if you're not really an ideas person, you can't really grow a pod. But I do look at myself as an ideas person, and this pod, I'm going to try and make it as last as long as I can, and there's going to be plenty of variation. So
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that, Paddy. But anything else, mate, you want to talk about?
No, probably not too much. I'd probably, if you can, recommend getting a really good microphone just for the crisp, because I know when I've seen things on like YouTube and things, it's always nice when it's a real crisp sort of sound. So that would be something.
Yeah, mate. So what I'll do is I've got this microphone here. I bought it at JB Hi-Fi.
Yeah.
So this is what it is. It's that one, mate. So it's a
yeah.
So
The Rode. Yeah.
yeah. So look, I used to have this cheaper USB microphone one that you had connected with headphones. I was on a different pod and I used to use that, but I wanted to take this one more serious. So I wanted my voice to sound better. So that's why I forked out a bit more.
Yeah,
it doesn't look as expensive as yours, but yeah. So I'll see how I go with this for a while. And if I do grow the pod and gets better and people tell me to get a better microphone, I'll have to do it. So yeah.
All good, mate. It will be all learning, all development. And once you get a bit, find what works, what doesn't work. And then, if you need a better one, you go for it. But no, it's a good start, mate. It's been a pleasure being on here.
Yeah, no worries, Paddy. So what I'll do, mate, is I'm happy to stop the pod now. I've got a fair bit I've got to do later. I've got to wake up my son and feed him. But thanks a lot, mate, for being a part of this pod. I'll message you during the week. I'll try to get it out later this week.
Yep.
And I'll also ask you to share it on your Facebook as well to help people more people listen to it. So I think a lot of people are going to like this pod episode. People you haven't spoken to for a long time, they're going to tune in, want to see what's going on with Paddy Dwyer. But anyway, Paddy, thanks a lot. You've been a fantastic second guest I've ever had. I'm happy to have you on at a different time. I'll message you. It might be a mid-season AFL review. I know you like AFL. We could do a half an hour pod on how the AFL's been in halfway through or something. I do plan on getting someone to do that with me. So, yeah, mate, you've been a fantastic guest. You're a good guy. People are going to enjoy this pod. And thanks for joining an episode of the Keats Pod.
Thanks, Brandon. My pleasure, mate. And all the best with the podcast in the future.
All right. Thanks a lot, mate.
Awesome. Thanks, mate.